All right. So let me talk a little bit about my background, and if people jump in, I'll give them a quick catch up. But we'll press on so we don't take up more of your day. So my name's David Forder. Thanks for joining. Three times in my past, if you look me up on LinkedIn, in my profile there, I've had the good fortune to lead businesses with more than $1 billion in sales revenue. So they were pretty decent sized sales companies with large sales teams. Twice out of those three times, we didn't have CRMs. It was kind of predated the big CRM explosion in the 2000s. But the third time, we did have a CRM, and it added pretty much zero value. And there was a few reasons for that I'll touch on in my next couple of slides. But certainly, I'm no stranger to running sales organizations. After those businesses, I co-founded a sales outsourcing business where we grew to be operating about 40 separate sales teams for a whole lot of global brands that would outsource their sales effort to us. So there were Harley Davidson, Nike, Chanel, a whole lot of other companies would outsource their sales teams to us, and we would build them a team of reps, usually 15 to 25 in size. Grew a bit seasonally, Christmas time and gift periods and things. But at any point in time, we would have 1,000 reps on the ground offering about 40 separate brands. So it was quite a handful to manage. With that in mind, back in early 2000, I bought a CRM. So it was a market-leading platform, a product. I'm sure you know the brand. We spent a lot of money because you pay per seat. So it was a huge investment for the business. But we thought, well, given all the promises that CRM was making, we had to have one. We had 1,000 reps. We needed a CRM to get good value out of that sales team. So in June, we bought it, deployed it. In July, we waited for these huge benefits to start flowing, and nothing. So within a few months, kind of realized that the CRM wasn't going to give us the returns that we were hoping to get in terms of driving better performance from the sales team and also productivity gains. And yet we were spending this huge amount of money on that. So what we did in my business was we set up a working group to look at, well, why isn't the CRM paying back the way the company had promised, the supplier, the vendor had promised? And what could we do to fix that? Because we were bound up with this thing for 2 years. And, I wasn't going to pay the sort of seat costs we were paying without getting a return. So we set up a working group to look at the issues with that CRM. And over about 18 months, we made a handful of key learnings that I'll share today. So we found in that sort of 1,000 strong sales team, we pulled out around about 10 sales leaders. So the guys that just seemed to everything, they could sell anything to anyone. We pulled them out of the business and put them in a working group and tried to get to the bottom of, well, how can we get a return on this investment in CRM? And that's what I'll share today. So we implemented these key learnings over about a year and a half into that staffing business, and we got an enormous improvement. So our revenues went up 40%, our productivity went up about 40%, and it was a great success for the sales company that I ran. Some of those brands I mentioned then came to us and said, well, we see what you're doing with your CRM. It was Salesforce.com at the time. And can you do that for us too? What if we pay you to fix our software for our business? And so the result was my current company, Sentia. So today won't be about Sentia and what we do as a business, but that kind of illustrates it. It's about the key learnings that we got from that group. So we'll definitely be adding value to you guys. All right, last point, and I mentioned it before. I'm more than happy to take questions. I don't have a problem being interrupted in my stride. I haven't got a ton of slides, so it's not going to be death by PowerPoint. But if you have any questions, put your hand up, ask, interrupt me. I'm more than happy to answer them. So as I said, I picked Zoom because it's a much more intimate to and fro, more like a meeting. So I think that's a better format, but we'll see. All right. So Gartner, this was updated last year. 50 to 70% of all CRM projects result in a financial loss to the company, or at the very best, no improvement on performance. So that's, let's say 60%. We'll split the difference. Either give you for that investment, you get no return, or that results in a financial loss. So you make less money. And that's fascinating that I found that in 2003. Gartner found it in 2021. It was no surprise to me. So the annual spend on CRM at the moment is $58 billion globally. and it's projected to increase to 128 billion in a few years. So we're still, as businesses, queuing up to buy CRM, even though 60-70% of the time we're not getting a return. Like, why? And a good friend of mine, Albert Einstein, says insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Hence today and my content for you. So if 70% all result in losses, why do we keep buying? Why is that? Why are they resulting in losses? It's because the CRM is doing nothing for the sales teams in these businesses. There's a whole lot of reasons for that. I'll touch on some in a moment, but the CRM is not adding any value for the sales team at all when they're purchased by these firms. So I've got a short clip, runs for less than a minute, but it illustrates this. And the premise is, imagine that a rep took his CRM to a bar after work to talk about work and his issues with the CRM. The way you may take a colleague to a bar when you've got some performance, when you want to discuss something with them that's a bit sensitive. So I'll just run this. Hopefully the sound comes through all right.
So, I sense you're unhappy. Can I buy you a drink?
Yeah, I'm very frustrated. You're the problem, and no, a drink won't fix it.
What do you mean?
You're expensive and totally useless. And it's not just me. The other reps feel the same way.
You guys aren't happy with me? I don't understand. My latest upgrades will give you a deep neural network with predictive coding, artificial data analytics, and binary classification tools. All of us CRMs are doing it.
You're kidding, right? Look, it's simple. I just want to sell more, but you create extra admin and get in my way. There's nothing you can do for me. We're through. In fairness, I wanted to let you know that from now on, I'm going to avoid working with you.
Guess I'm the one who needs a drink.
Why is this so difficult?
So it's a lighthearted view at what a rep feels about their CRM, but it's very true. Trust me, I get these comments from all sorts of people, including sales reps at major CRM vendors. They feel the same way. So 70% may cause a loss. Why are we still buying them? I had a conversation with Nancy Narden, who's a sales thought leader, a couple of weeks ago. She wrote a great article on LinkedIn, which I'm happy to share, but she ran through some of these articles, why companies are still spending $58 billion last year in the CRM space. So these are the answers she found when she queried enterprises. Businesses need something to act as a system of record. So basically, they have to put their data somewhere. A CRM is the easiest way to do that. It's an expensive way to do it, but you've got to put it somewhere. Secondly, companies need data to know how their business is running, and they feel that a CRM is the way you get people to enter data. Unfortunately, that's a flawed premise. Could be true, generally isn't true. Companies think the payback will be there if only salespeople would use it properly. And we get this a lot. Salespeople will use any tool that makes their life easier. They don't push back on using email. They don't push back on using cell phones. They don't push back on any technology that helps them deliver their sales budgets, their sales targets, but they do push back on using CRM, and there's some fixes that you can do to get around that. But people feel the payback will be there. It's the rep's fault that they're not getting a payback on CRM investment. The big issue is CRM is sold as a solution. So if you go to any CRM vendor's site, my company is actually a Salesforce.com partner, but there's NetSuite, there's Oracle, there's Microsoft Dynamics. They'll all be selling you on the benefits of a CRM. You're sold on that instant gratification of what you can enjoy with a CRM. The reality is, and this is Nancy Narden, not me saying this, a CRM is a big empty bucket. It's a place to store your data out of the box. That's what you buy. So it's not a solution, it's a platform. So you have to view your CRM, if you have one or if you're looking at one, as a platform for your business, not as a solution. And this is what I discovered back in 2003 over 18 months. And this is what we sort of are out in the marketplace preaching now. But if you do, and that's what my next couple of slides are about, the payback can be amazing. So if you do get the CRM to operate as a solution for you, after you purchase it, the payback can be fantastic. So what sort of benefits? If it's done properly, a return of $8 for every dollar you spend, conversion rates on sales, 300% up, revenue by 41%, and I managed to deliver that in the company that I mentioned earlier. Customer retention rates go through the roof. In effect, on the whole investment in CRM, you can return 245% ROI. So it's worth doing, but buying one is not going to deliver you these results. As I said, 50 to 70% of the time, you lose money. So how do you get them? And that's the reason. How do we move your CRM from what is a pretty crappy result to, oh my gosh, fantastic? Step one, you have to select the optimal platform. Given CRM is just a platform, not a solution, and that out of the box, it's not going to give you those benefits straight away, it's very important you select the correct platform out of the many on the marketplace. So for instance, this is a list of all of the sales enablement software packages on the marketplace, including CRM. There's 2,200 CRM. There's CRMs, right up your arm that you can work through. So how do you possibly select what's the right CRM platform? It's actually quite simple. Oh, sorry about that. 5 things. Needs to be enterprise grade. By that, I mean it needs to have multiple servers in multiple countries. It's not going to crash on you when you need it. It needs to be secure, so you can't have data being lost. Secure doesn't necessarily mean you're worried about being hacked. It means that you're not going to lose data if something goes wrong. It needs to be reliable. We had there was a situation around about 3 years ago. A lot of people I speak to moved to Zoho database for its CRM, for instance, which is a cheap, low-cost option. Zoho had an outage for about 3.5 days. So major companies were using them as their CRM. They literally couldn't log on for 3.5 days because they had some server problems with that Zoho, which is a multi-billion-dollar valued business. So it needs to be reliable, needs to be highly extensible, and offer the widest possible number of integrations. So if you're going to make a significant investment in a platform, a CRM platform, make sure that it will always connect to whatever other backend systems you're going to need in your business, whether it's ERP, whether it's third-party data sources, whatever that is. So if you're looking for the right CRM platform, it has to hit all 5 of these buttons. And when you take that list of 2,200 and you filter down on these things, there's really only 3, maybe 4 that meets the grade. So Salesforce.com meets these boxes with some downsides. Oracle NetSuite definitely meets these boxes with some downsides, and Microsoft Dynamics does. Possibly HubSpot at a stretch, although it doesn't have anywhere near as many integrations or extensibility. So it's not a wash with solutions. The market is, but if you really want to get a return on a CRM, it needs to hit these 5 buttons. And, I run through these with clients all day long. I think there's a truck outside, so I apologize for the horn. And when you start looking at extensibility and integrations, a lot of the other providers fall away. They're lower cost, but that's why they're lower cost. Step 2, your process. If you want your CRM to deliver for your team, your customer-facing team or your sales team, you have to first look at your process. So you secure the best platform as a CRM, and then you do a deep dive on process. Look at what your sales processes are, what your business processes are. And we do this a lot with our clients. When you do a deep dive with what the company feels its processes are, and then what the sales team or the customer service team think they are, they often are not the same thing. So what you think your processes are and what guys are doing day to day don't always match. So drill into that and look at what is the real practices in your business, and then test those practices depending on the industry you're in, on what is best practice for that industry. So, if you have a prospecting process for generating leads, test it against best practice. And you can do it online. You can do searches on what other companies do in your space. If you have admin procedures in your business, test those and make sure that there's not things in there that you don't really need to be doing, so that you can fine tune your process down to the bare minimum, but as I said, best practice for the industry, so that you're doing everything as well as you possibly can. And then document that. And there's a reason for this. It's not just documentation for the sake of documenting it, because we're going to incorporate that in this CRM platform that I spoke about. Data is the third piece. So if you're going to have a CRM, everything has to be on that CRM. You need a single source of truth. So if you have existing data in Outlook, on spreadsheets, anywhere else, spend time cleaning that data up. Identify third-party data sources. We have clients in financial services, for instance. What we do for them on their CRM is bring in FDIC data. There's free data available on banks and credit unions that you can bring into the CRM and use for great insights for salespeople. Every industry has data sources that make sense. Real estate has data sources that you can use across a whole lot of categories. Consumer goods do as well. Integrate LinkedIn as much as humanly possible. Integrate your email and your calendar so that it automatically is stored in your CRM as well. And integrate any sales data you have, whether it's in an accounting package, in an ERP, some invoicing software, wherever it is, bring it all in. So if with your CRM solution that you're going to create here, if I'm looking up an account or a lead, everything about that account or lead is in one place. And then it starts to make sense for your sales team once you do this piece. Then hide this data away. So you want it on the CRM, but you don't want to bombard your sales team with this data. Remember, 80% of the users of your CRM are going to be salespeople on average. So 20% are finance, marketing, and senior management. 80% are customer-facing teams. They do not want to view this data on lots of heavy data-rich screens, but you need it on your CRM. So it's a subtle difference. Integrate everything on the CRM, hide it, and I'll talk about how we actually get some use out of that data in a moment. Once you have your process sorted out, a great CRM platform that's extensible and configurable and connects to anything you want, and you've got your data sources sorted, your data's as clean as it can be within reason, all of your emails and your calendar data coming in, you need then to build an application for your sales team based on all of those first three steps. So what does that mean? It needs to be configured specifically for your team. So you know your processes now, they're best practice. Build a CRM application that supports those practices. Automate as much of those practices as possible. So don't require your staff to do endless paperwork and reports unless you desperately need those paperwork and reports. There's almost nothing now that an application on your CRM cannot automate within your business. Sales users, as I said, are typically around 80% of the day-to-day users. Relegate list views and dashboards. You still need them on the CRM, but you don't need them in your sales users' faces. Provide a clean user interface. Only provide actionable insights. So, what one of your sales team needs is this from your CRM, and it can be done. I've done it. We do it as a business. What should I do each day to make the most money, or to close the most leads, or to grow share in my accounts? How well am I doing at that? So how well am I performing? And how can I get better at that? So when you have your data sorted, your processes sorted, everything automated, a clean user interface, this is the information that your team need to get results from your CRM. What should I do every day? How am I going at that? How well am I performing? How am I benchmarked against team members? And how can I get better at my craft of selling? So a CRM application needs to deliver this. It's worth the work because when you do deliver it, you can expect that $8 return on your spend. So the results, and I can tell you from my own staffing business some years back and from all our clients now, you can generate enormous returns if you do these basics. 2 more steps. Finally, one more point. Finance and marketing like dashboards. Salespeople in general do not. So you need sales dashboards. If you buy a CRM from a vendor, they'll show you wonderful dashboards and you'll see that's great. The challenge with dashboards is this. If you don't get the rest of these pieces correct, the data in your CRM, the salespeople won't be updating pipelines and opportunities and close dates and value of opportunities. They won't be putting in their activity. So you'll be staring at, in finance and marketing, at dashboards that don't represent real data. And as I continually say, bad data in dashboards is worse than no dashboards at all. So because salespeople won't play ball with your CRM unless all the rest of this is right, your finance and marketing dashboards aren't going to make sense. And so, they're not a key priority. You need them for the finance and marketing guys. but get the rest of this right first. Okay, so number 5, we're almost there. Once you get this, so you've got your processes, you've got your third-party data and everything coming into the CRM, you've got a wonderful application that salespeople will love. You need to deploy it. And deploy it means take on the rollout of this investment as a project. So come up with a deployment plan. Make sure your team is trained carefully. Make sure there's ongoing support and consult for team members. So make sure that when they're on day 2 or 3 or 4 of using this thing, there's support there to actually answer their questions and help them through the process of learning it. It will be a major change for them. There'll be a dread to overcome when you talk about CRM with salespeople, because as a Salesforce.com rep said to me just yesterday, there's a CRM exhaustion out there in the space. So everyone who hears the word CRM wants to groan because of these poor experiences over 20 years. So make sure you can overcome that and say, this is different. This is an application we built for you, and we want your feedback. So you tell us if it's not working for you. And remember, that application needs to be about insights. It needs to be about what should they do every day, how they're going about, how they're performing, and then how they can get better at it. The last one's easy. Reassess and review. So make sure that every 6 months at least, you're formally reviewing this CRM investment. So loop back to step 2 if need be. Continually go back and look at your processes. Over time, all companies change. So it's important that your processes change along, that your CRM application that you've built continues to be a match for those processes. So as parts of your business want to introduce new forms and paperwork, test whether that's really necessary, or can that be automatically generated by the CRM, given all of the data in your business is in there. We rarely find pieces of a company that needs to be manually entered with data. And where we do, we make it quick and simple for customer-facing teams. So keep the review process up and circle back to step 2 process, then third-party data and the application as necessary. Do you have to do all these 6 steps? No, you don't. But 50 to 70% of CRM deployments fail because companies don't do these things. So it will make you money to do these things. Is it a bit of work? Yes, but it's worth it because you'll get a return. So basically, take your sales team with you on this CRM journey, and you will profit from this. Ensure that everything possible is automated within your CRM. That's almost never done, and it makes an enormous difference. Build it so you don't require enormous amounts of data entry, and there's a whole lot of processes, of techniques that can do away with almost all data entry that sales teams have to do. Deploy and train your team effectively, and you will get payback on the CRM. So this CRM, not the one you buy from the vendors, but this CRM with the data coming in and the application built for your business and all of that process automated, is a key business asset. It will become a very valuable part of your business. If you had to sell your business, merge your business with someone, they look at these sorts of applications that are driving real growth in revenue and productivity as an enormous piece of the company. It almost makes your company a turnkey operation because the software is driving huge elements within it. So protect it, and it will pay back. So, I mean, in terms of an ad for Sentia, these 6 steps are what we do for our companies. So we will talk to you about a platform. We'll help you configure all your processes and test them against best practice. We'll find out what third-party data sources make sense. We then build that application, which we call Sentia, which is that bespoke, customized application for your business. We then support a deployment package and training of your team and provide that ongoing feedback. So that's the only ad I'm going to do for our business. But those 6 steps is basically what we do for companies. Even if you didn't want to use us in this space, they're the way, those steps are the way for you to get an enormous return on your investment in CRM. And to be frank, since 2003 operating in this space, I don't know any other way that companies will enjoy a great return from their CRM other than making sure it works really well for their sales team